Hello and welcome. My name is Kate, and today I'm going to be ranking the Dark Souls 3 bosses, including bosses from the DLC. I finished Dark Souls 3 over on my Twitch channel, Kate Plays at Twitch, about 5 days ago, 6 days ago now. Loved it. It was my second kind of dip into Souls games in general. I have played some Bloodborne up until Cleric Beast. I got very hard stuck and was not in a good space, and I decided nope. But recently it had been this big idea. I love the lore of the Dark Souls universe, especially because it seems so shallow when you're first just going into the games, but the deep dives are amazing and so just incredibly diverse and fleshed out, with still leaving enough questions to keep you curious. So I really enjoyed my playthrough of Dark Souls 3. I think it was a really nice introduction. A lot of people had told me, hey, you should play Dark Souls 1 just to kind of get the feel for the world and get some more lore, get some more backstory. But I think diving into 3 was a good idea for me. I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend the game to other people. So let's jump on in to our tier list, shall we? I'm going to be ranking the bosses based off of, sorry, I'm going to move myself up here. There we go. How much I liked them, the environment, the level design around the bosses, the mechanics of the bosses, and, you know, a little bit based off of the lore. I think it'll be really subjective, so obviously this is my opinion. Trash taste, maybe. However, let's get going, shall we? So, all right, let's start. Let's see. Can we find Index Gundyr? Udex Gundyr. Hello. So first boss, first challenge of the day, I one-shot him. I don't know if I went in just extremely cautiously and played how you were supposed to play, but he was such an ego boost because I stuck close to him, I got lots of shots in, I attacked him consistently, and he died really quickly. It was a huge success, a huge relief, and for that, you know, I don't know. As a first boss, I think he was really cool. I really liked the idea that the abyss was within him, and that was something that, you know, caused him to become corrupted, and as an attempted link to fire, and he failed, and blah, 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 blah. His backstory, really cool. So I'm gonna put Mr. Udex, points off because I can't pronounce his name properly, at a B tier. So Champion Gundyr. So when you come back after you've reached the, what is it? The Undead Shrine or something like that? I can't remember all the names. Please forgive me for that, you guys. However, Champion Gundyr was a little bit harder, so he definitely kicked my butt about 2 or 3 times. However, again, not as much as I'd expected him to. However, I don't really enjoy that he was recycled. I kind of wish that there had been somebody else or some other element to it. Overall, I know he was necessary and it is part of the storytelling, but, you know, not my favorite boss, not the best thing. Would I want to fight him again? Meh, so we'll put him at a C. So, okay, Crystal Sage. Did not like the swamp. Liked the area that the sage was in because you had the Black Knights, which were really cool. Those 2 gatekeepers outside of where the stone settlement outside of the swamp, oh my god, they rocked my world 2 or 3 times. Hated them. But the sage itself, interesting. I really like the magic mechanic. The pick me, find me, kind of hunt around, scavenger hunt for the sage. I don't know if I really understood the mechanic or if I just forced my way through it. We did come back to the sage after leveling up a little too much, so I was a little overgeared, a little overleveled for the fight. However, still really cool, especially because I think it is one of the first bosses you are supposed to fight who works strictly with magic, especially with the kind of magic that the sage is using. So for that, I think it was really neat. Would I want to play the boss again? Not first pick, definitely. We're gonna put it at a solid C. Cool, annoying, weird mechanic, and has one-shot capability, which I'm not a huge fan of with bosses. I feel like you should be able to struggle along a little bit more than that. All right, so let's move on to somebody else who's a little bit earlier into the game, shall we? Ooh, Cursed Rotted Greatwood. Let's talk about that fight. So you have to go through the Undead Settlement, which for me was the first like, ooh, cool exploration area. Wasn't as annoying as I'd expected it to be. However, my only problem with my experience of the Cursed Rotting Greatwood was that my game, I played on PC, glitched out. So instead of falling down into that cavern about halfway through damage-wise, that never happened for me. So it just kept turning and spinning, and I just kept attacking and attacking and punishing the boss until finally it died. Do I think the mechanic was cool? Yes. Do I think it was kind of misplaced in this world? Yes. I think I'd have to do a little bit more research on the Cursed Rotted Greatwood in particular, just to kind of see where it fits. It doesn't really feel like it has a purpose or a point in the universe here, which is something I find a little bit jarring, especially when you're so invested and you're so into it and you're like, what the heck is going on with this giant tree? This tree is trying to kill me? What? I have to hit its giant nasty tree sacks? Disgusting. So for me, we're putting the Cursed Rotted Greatwood at a D tier. D tier. Sorry. Moving on, I see my next victim, Vort of the Boreal Valley. So Vort's story and how it ties in with the Dancer and with Pontiff Sulyvahn has made him probably one of my early favorite bosses of the entire playthrough. I think his character design was really neat. I like his bestiality action, not bestiality. What's the word that I'm trying to think of? Beast form? Whoops, sorry. Wrong term. However, I do like that he kind of gets turned more into a beast rather than a person at this point. And his weapon is so cool. However, we did one-shot him. I don't know again if I just got lucky. I got lucky twice in a row. I got lucky with Udex and I got lucky with Vort. And in both cases, it was a one-shot mechanic rule for me. It was like, all right, okay, or well, not one shot, sorry, one time. First try. There we go. We first tried him, and he is a beast man. Let's clarify ourselves here. So I think overall, I'm going to put Vort at another B. I think I'm going to put him ahead of Udex because he was fun. I think I would play him again, and I think if I had not played as well as I had initially, he would have been a good challenge, but a very fair good challenge and fun to learn. So for that, we're gonna put him in a B tier. Lovely old B tier. Okay, so moving on. How about let's talk about. Should we go down the list instead? I mean, why not? Is this Osiris? Is this who this is supposed to be? Osiris? No, Osiris is over here. Who the heck is this? This is the Dancer? They picked poor art for the Dancer. Her picture is so freaking small. Anyway, Dancer of the Boreal Valley. Again, tied in with the lore of Vort. Fascinating. So freaking cool, as well as with Pontiff Sulyvahn. We'll talk about you later, sir. So with the Dancer in particular, I loved this fight. The sound design, the freaking character movement, the fight itself was so engaging and so fun. Again, punishing but fair. And I think that's kind of the theme for Dark Souls until we get to a couple other bosses. But overall, the Dancer for me is an A tier fight. She presented enough of a challenge with still being so cool, so interesting. You didn't have to worry about, you know, what was behind you, what was in front of you, because all you had to focus on was the Dancer. It was so cool. Sorry, I have cat hair. Cat hair. Anyone else? Yes, please relate to me. I think we got it. However, I know a lot of people really hate the Dancer's fight, and that's something that my poor little heart, I'm just like, what? Really? I think you're wrong. So for that, Dancer's definitely got to be an A tier, A class person for me. Moving on to somebody who I could care less about, the Deacons of the Deep. This to me was an F tier. Easy F. I understand. Well, no, just kidding. We're going to move it to a D tier. Because the lore is cool. The workings of the Deacons with Pontiff Sulyvahn and the corruption there, very, very cool, very interesting, as well as with the other effects that it had on this world. Do I love them? Absolutely not. I think the mechanics were kind of janky, kind of weird. I thought it was unique. We'll put it there. Oh, am I leaning even towards a C tier now? I don't know. The mechanics were unique. The environment where you had to fight them was slightly annoying. The whole, giant inner church with the two big old giants that were terrifying that I just avoided and did not kill. But I don't know. They're not a boss that I would encourage anybody to fight again, that I would want to fight again, that I would say, oh my god, you guys, have you gotten to the deacons yet? No, don't care about them that much. So we'll leave them in D. D I think is fine. The old Demon King, hey? Ugh, my lord. So the area that he's in, super annoying. Those giant ballistas, not a good time. You know what? Also, I don't want to use the scuffed tier. Delete this row. Yeah, we're just gonna do A to F. Let's do that. Scuffed, subjective. So, old Demon King, the area he's in with the ballistas sucks. The worm sucks. The adventuring is precarious. There's the 3 giant freaking crabs behind the other area where you think, oh, maybe I can go shut off the ballista. No. The fight itself wasn't as bad as it should have been. For me, I thought it was kind of weird hitbox wise. It took me about 5 to 6 tries to get in there, but I'm also an aggressive player. I'm not somebody who likes to hang out and use any magic or anything like that. I like to just hack and slash and try to kill them as quickly as possible. Kill them before they kill me, you know what I'm saying? Yes. So, old Demon King, you could punish. However, there were a couple moves where my roll time was off or the hitbox was a little bit weird. And, I don't think I'd want to fight him again. I'm putting him ahead of the Greatwood. Greatwood, F tier. We've decided. F tier, bottom of the barrel. Don't love the Greatwood. Not for me. So, let's continue. Sorry, Greatwood, but you're just nasty with your weird little tree sacks. We don't like that at all. So here we have the Demon Prince. So the Demon Prince, I'm believing that this is from the DLC, and I thought this fight was really cool. So this is in the Dredge Heap. After you run through everything and the humanity dregs and the billion freaking necromancers that you have to run around and deal with. So Demon Prince, let's talk about them. I thought it was really cool that there was the Demon of Pain, the Demon of Below, or whatever that was. Really, really neat, really cool. A little annoying. A little bit annoying. The camera angles, super irritating a lot of the time. Kind of the third enemy in that fight. It's a theme, I suppose. However, once you kind of realize that if you deal with one and the other stays alive and you finish the second one off and then phase 2 begins and there's different mechanics based off of who you've killed first or second, vice versa. Super neat, really cool. I like the lore in the fact that, Prince Lorien, he was also one to kill the demon princes, and that, brought renown to his title. Really, really interesting. However, they felt like DLC bosses to me, personally. They didn't really feel like they added a whole lot to the environment because they were, in this deep, dark pit. They, could have easily been walked over and avoided. So I think in that respect, I'm going to put them at a C. I didn't really dislike them. We're going to put them ahead of Champion as well. I didn't really, really dislike them. They were one of the most fair kind of beast battles that I think we go through in this game. And, would I replay against them? I could take it. Sure, let's do it. All right, speaking of I could take it, Dark Slayer armor, or Dragon Slayer armor. I see D and then I see dark, and I'm like, ooh, deep dark, great. No, the Dragon Slayer armor. So, I think I also had a very skewed experience with the Dragon Slayer armor because I fought them, let's say, after tirelessly, persistently battling against the gong show that was the Nameless King fight. We'll get there eventually. The Dragon Slayer armor, overall, I think it's really cool. I don't know enough about the lore. I think the primordial butterflies or something like that are flying around in the environment as well. I want to read more about how they are controlling this armor, etc., etc. I think it's a really cool concept, a really neat idea. I just don't personally see where it fits. It doesn't quite make sense to me. The connections don't really make sense. So, you know, that's a part to it. However, the fight itself is fun. It's punishing as hell. If you misroll or if you get greedy, you will be punished. I don't think that's a bad thing. I do, again, say fair. The hitboxes are a little bit janky with the shield. However, we're saying that word a billion times. I don't care. It's a fun fight. I thought it was a really fun fight, especially coming from Nameless King, where everything was just death and destruction and sadness. You know, felt kind of good killing Dragon Slayer in like 3 tries. It was good. We're gonna put him at a big old B. Behind Vort. Yeah, great. Oh, so now this is all DLC stuff. We'll move on to not DLC and then we'll come back. So, speaking of moving on, Pontiff Sulyvahn, the great designer of a lot of crap in this world, was such a cool fight. It was such a cool fight. Getting into Irithyll, cool. Dealing with the enemies there, cool. The different levels and structures, so cool. The architecture, beautiful. I think overall, Pontiff Sulyvahn gets a lot of hate because it can be a very easily telegraphed fight, but it was still a very fun fight. And it gave me a bit of a challenge. I will say, I think it took me about 8 or 10 tries, but it was fun each time. It wasn't one of those fights where you're dragging yourself. Oh my god, like we have to deal with him. Oh my god. No, it wasn't anything like that. It was like, okay, so next time when he gets into phase 2, we're gonna have to do this and I'm gonna have to think about how to roll this way and am I timing this properly? To me, it was a very, very cool fight. I'm gonna put Pontiff Sulyvahn at an A, right behind the Dancer. Fortunately, I don't like putting them together because, you know, lower, but it's fine. Good, it's fine. All right, moving on. Let's, head into the Abyss Watchers. The Abyss Watchers were the first area where I felt like I could get hard stuck, where I could put the controller down, walk away, and just say, I'll deal with this tomorrow. But your girl was doing a 12-hour stream for hitting a sub goal. Thank you, everybody. And I think I hit the Abyss Watchers at like 10 hours. 10 hours into my 12-hour stream. And I just thought, what if I just beat them and then I'll end stream? Thinking, okay, cool, like this will be fine. I'll end a little bit, you know, on time. We'll just chat for a little bit. It'll be great. No, it took me 3.5 hours to beat these bad boys. I remember it was not 3.5, sorry, 2.5 hours, my bad. But it was 12 hours and like 35 minutes. And I had somebody who had come in at the beginning of the stream, had to go do some things, came back and they were saying, oh no. I know, yes, oh no indeed. However, positive points. I thought the fight was so cool. I thought the movement was so cool. I think the lore is fantastic for the Abyss Watchers. I think it's one of those fights that really challenges you to know the mechanics and to get good at the fight. Super, super cool. Was it annoying as hell? Yes. Dealing with 3 enemies at a time? Horrible. They're all fast. They're all slicey. They are all just awful. And it's just one of those things where, you know, Watchers, super cool. Mechanically, don't love them that much, but overall, I do really like them. So let's put them at an A tier. Super cool. Should I put them at A tier? Would I want to fight them again? I mean, yes, after going through it again, yes, I think I would want to fight them. I do think they are right. Earthquake. But I think they are right where they should be, kind of behind these guys, because these guys, for me, subjectively, my favorite fights so far. Just personally. Just me. Okay, moving on to somebody totally different. Aldrich, Devourer of Gods. Lore-wise, fantastic. Area, fantastic. Fight itself, cool. Aesthetically, very cool. However, when you learn that attacking the blob, because the blob is Aldrich itself, that makes the fight a lot easier because you're not aiming for Gwyn, who is, or was this Guinevere? Who's on the body? I can't remember who's on the body. However, when you realize that you don't have to attack the actual person, the little body person, makes the fight so much easier. So I think Aldrich took me about 3 or 4 tries. Mechanically, really cool fight, really interesting, a little bit more punishing than expected. However, I really liked it. So we're gonna put Aldrich at a B tier. I think I'm gonna put him behind Vort, personally. Just personally. I'd fight them again. I think it was a gorgeous fight. I liked the music a lot, and I liked the lore behind Aldrich, Devourer of Gods. So interesting. Very, very cool. Okay, somebody who's not cool. Ancient Wyvern. Ancient Wyvern hated the area. Boss was just a giant obstacle to get past the area, essentially. The mechanic was kind of cool. The mechanic of the plunge. Just plunge, just jump, plunge. Pretty cool, not gonna lie. However, overall, I don't think I would want to fight this boss again. I don't want to go through this area again. I don't want to fight this boss. We're gonna put the Wyvern above the... behind the Deacons. Yeah, behind the Deacons. It was cool. It's one of those things that when you talk to somebody and it's like, oh yeah, and you killed the Wyvern. Oh yeah, cool, the cool plunge attack. Sweet. However, don't want to fight them again. Don't care. Let's move on. All right, let's talk about Wolnir. We're gonna go back and then forward and back again. Don't worry, join me on this journey. High Lord Wolnir. Hate the area. Catacombs, not a fan of that. The infected enemies, the cursed enemies, the weird freaking satyr kind of enemies. Not a fan of the area. Getting to Wolnir, not too bad, as long as you had the bonfire, obviously. The fight itself, I think it took me probably 3 tries, just because I understood what you had to do mechanically. It was just bad RNG the first couple times because I let him climb up the slope too far, and then you have no space, and then the curse comes up for you, the Abyss curse, and etc, etc. I think he's a cool idea. I definitely do. Do I wish that the fight was different? Yes. I think mechanically it could have been so much better. I think it could have been much more interesting. It was just kind of boring. He's a very forgettable fight to me. So I'm gonna put Wolnir at a C tier. I'd rather fight Wolnir and get good at him than with the Deacons. Deacons just AoE control, kind of crowd control, awareness, etc. Wolnir, just wail on him. It's fine. Okay, speaking of wailing on him, Yorm the Giant. Yorm is so cool. His lore is so sad. His items give you a lot of information about him. I just think it was really neat. The Profane Capital, maybe not my favorite area to explore. It was a little bit weird, a little bit janky, but I do think it was kind of interesting. It was kind of cool. All the riches of throughout, and you know, the giant stone gargoyles that threatened to kick you off the bridge every time you looked at them. Kind of cool. Yorm's fight was definitely a little bit awkward because you need a certain item to fight Yorm. And if you don't know that, you're gonna run around dealing 12 damage to this man's little ankles. Well, he just pummels you into the ground with a double machete. Not a good time. Not a good time. So, you know, once you learn, oh man, there's a weapon or there's an item even. You don't even see it's a weapon. There's an item right by his throne. You have to, you know, run over there. You have to equip it. You have to kind of learn how to use the weapon art. God forbid if you've put all of your flasks into Estus and none into your actual FP bar, you know, replenishment, and then you miss a bunch of times and then you kind of boned. Not that I did that, but I feel like that is a mechanic that is a little bit, you know, you kind of need to know what you're doing or have read up on it. You could get really hard stuck, I think, at Yorm. So, I don't know. I think, for me, the balance between being able to punish the boss and the lore of this boss are very, very tough. I think, honestly, I have to put Yorm at a C. I think we're going to put him ahead of the Demon Princes, but I don't want to fight Yorm again. I would love to fight him with my weapons. I think that would be really cool, but just having to choose or use the one chosen weapon that you need to slay the giant, I don't love that mechanic, just personally. So mechanics that I did love, let's talk about that for a second. Twin Prince fight, loved it, phenomenal. Top three fights, I think. I think it felt good to do. I liked the dynamic. I loved the lore. I loved the environment that you fought them in. I liked that it was both bright, but also there's someone just two crippled men, essentially, fighting for what they believe. I think it was just such a cool fight. Really honest and truly. I think a lot of people can argue that, oh, well, the teleportation is a little bit awkward and a little janky, and, you know, some of the moves were quite punishing, etc., etc. But once you kind of learn the patterns and the dodges, it felt really good. It felt really good. So personally, my twin princes, my boys, they're gonna go up my top 3 right there. Loved it. Really enjoyed it. Not going to lie. Plus, aesthetically, gorgeous. Gorgeous. Really cool. Really love it. And the voice acting, phenomenal. I think throughout this entire game, all of the voice acting was great. My favorite voices, honestly, were Henri. I love Henri's girl voice. If Henri's a man, I'm not too into it, but the voice actress for Henri, phenomenal. Loved it. Can listen to her talk all day. The best. Okay, and now to conclude, I believe the main game is Asirius. I think Asirius is a main boss. Well, an optional boss, but he's in the main game. I think the area that he was in was not my favorite. Definitely not my favorite. He had a really interesting, he has an interesting backstory. I don't know it very well. He's obviously gone mad. He's the consumed king. He, I think, is in transition to turning into a dragon, but then he's also missing a child, Ocelot, who cries in the background. Very reminiscent of Murgo, the wet nurse, and, you know, the baby there. But it's just one of the things that, to me, this fight was, again, forgettable. He's an optional boss. If you didn't get to him, I don't think it mattered too much, you know? To me, would I fight him again? Probably not, honestly. Honestly, he didn't give me too much trouble. I think I beat him on like my second try. But at the same point in time, I didn't think he was the coolest fight around. So I'm gonna put him... We're gonna put him behind Champion Gundyr. He wasn't bad. He just wasn't great, you know? He's kind of midline. Okay, and then yeah, wrapping up the main game, let's talk about the Soul of Cinder. Soul of Cinder was an intimidating guy. I really don't know if I liked this fight or not, honestly. This is one that I'm like pretty divided about. I think the ideas and the variety of his mechanical fight, really cool, really annoying, you know, because you have to adapt 3 or 4 or 5 times throughout the fight, depending on what build you've gone and, you know, things that way. For reference, you guys, I don't know if I mentioned this, I went as a more strength build. I put a few points into dex, I put a lot into my strength, got it to 40, and then I think I was running like 25 vigor and 25 endurance when I beat the main game. Maybe a little bit more in those areas, but, and only like 16 or 18 into dex. Like yep, we just went strength. It was run and gun kind of deal. So Soul of Cinder, back to him. Really cool fight mechanically. I don't really think I liked the environment that we had to deal with him in. Not that it was bad. I think aesthetically it was really gorgeous. It just, all of the lumps and nooks and crannies definitely made you fight the environment a couple of times through the battle. And to me, I don't like that. I like having more of an equal, even playing field, or if there's going to be pillars, or if there's going to be, you know, variety in the environment. Cool. I don't mind that. I just don't like how awkward it was in Soul of Cinder's fight. This one definitely did take me quite a few tries. I think it was about an hour, maybe hour and a half, 2 hours to beat Soul. I can't quite remember, honestly. Would I fight him again? Yeah. I think he's a really cool challenge fight. I think he's a very fitting end to the main area. I think that it was a good final boss. If you're not going to do any of the DLC and this is where you stop, I think he's a fair and tough fight. So I think for that, we're going to stick him up in B. We're going to put him behind Vort, because Vort is biased. I'm biased, especially lore-wise. Soul of Cinder, B tier. Love that. So now we're really moving into the DLC. I know that I've put, you know, a couple ideas about Nameless King in your guys' head, so let's talk about it. So Nameless King, I know that he's not technically a DLC boss. He feels like a DLC boss. He feels like a leveled up DLC boss to me. In that regard, I took 7 hours to beat the Nameless King. I was slightly underleveled, possibly. I was also very impatient and greedy after about hour 1. And just, oh my lord, he kicked my butt repeatedly. Him and his giant chicken lizard. So I think that was part of, you know, my frustration was the fact that you had to deal with the dragon every single time. And the dragon, you know, mechanically is not hard. It was just awkward. So, you know, making sure that you're damaging the head, making sure that you're not too close to the dragon, making sure you're not under the dragon, making sure you're not too far away from the dragon, making sure, you know, all of these small positioning pieces in order to punish part 1 of the boss. Okay, cool, great. And then you move on to Nameless King himself, who, side note, has amazingly cool lore, really, really interesting. Points for that. However, looking back on it, I think he's a really cool fight. I think it's a really, really interesting, really cool fight. Punishing as hell. This is one of the fights where I feel like the damage that I did was not enough based off of the damage that he did. Was it maybe because I was underleveled? Maybe, but I was only a couple points under. And I feel like the amount of punishment that I received from the Nameless King was exponentially more than what I could deliver to him. Maybe if I play through again, do some, you know, New Game Plus, things like that, maybe I could figure out some different strategies. I think when you got things right and you dodged properly and you know, were able to move how you wanted to, really cool. His moveset, really interesting, really cool, but just like I said, just the amount of punishment that you receive is brutal and awful and unforgiving. For that, I think I'm going to put Nameless King at a B tier. I think I'm gonna put him behind Soul of Cinder. I would like to try fighting him again, maybe with a summon. That was one of the things on stream. People were saying, why don't you just summon? Nope, we're doing this all by myself. My first time, my first playthrough, let's do it all by myself. We can do it. I did do it. Was it worth it? 7 hours later? You tell me. He's a B tier boss. Let's move on. We'll never talk about the Nameless King ever again. He doesn't have a name. Perfect. Don't address him. Don't worry about it. Okay, so actually, let's deal with some of the bosses in, well, one of the bosses from Ashes of Arendelle, the Champion Gravetender. So this area, I hated. I did not enjoy running through the Northmen. I did not enjoy the amount of enemies, the amount of wolves, the amount of, you know, hidden areas that if you step on this snow bank, it's going to collapse, and then you're going to have to deal with 3, you know, very difficult strength-based enemies. To me, the environment sucked. The fight area, the fight arena, gorgeous, beautiful, wonderful. You had to get past a couple of those giant crabs. What is it with giant crabs? Why are there ice crabs? Why are there, you know, under cavern freaking flame crabs when you have to go deal with the old demon area? Like, what? Why crabs? Why crabs? Don't like them. No. But the fight itself, very interesting, kind of cool. You had the 2 parts. You had the one beast, and you had the human element to it. I think it was kind of a simple fight. It was kind of an easy fight. I think I took 2 tries at it. The wolf torpedo definitely threw me up the first time and was one of the things that I was like, oh, okay, that's this kind of fight. All right, sure. But I think it was just, it felt like such a DLC boss in the way that it was so forgettable to me. If you didn't download this DLC and you didn't play against the Champion Gravetender, you're not missing anything, in my opinion. I don't think it was a necessary fight. I don't think the lore really made any sense into the main grand scale of the game. I just personally don't feel like I would have missed anything if they hadn't coded this boss in, personally. So, you know, for that, I'm going to put him down at a D. I'm going to put him above the Wyvern, behind the Deacons, because it just wasn't a necessary fight. The Deacons at least had the lore component to them. Champion Gravetenders, just weird. Just a weird one. Not bad, not good, just weird, just meh. Don't want to fight them again. Don't need them. Meh. Not too bad. Now, we'll move on to lovely Sister Frida and Papa Ariandel. Oh my goodness, this fight was Annoying. So annoying. I don't think I got as frustrated with other fights as I did in this fight, just solely because there were 3 phases. And because you had to do the prior phases. Let's say you got to phase 3 back to back to back to back. You still got to go through phase 1 and 2. Oh my lord, the amount of progress that you feel like you are just losing every time you have to go through. It's an exhausting fight. It's a tiring fight. Mechanically, I thought it was really cool. I love the lore component, especially with the fact of the blood, the flail, Father Ariandel trying to keep the world dampened from the ash and the cinder and the ember. Very, very interesting. Sister Frieda, I like her movesets. I think she's really cool. I just... sometimes it was just one of those things where the hitbox felt off. Felt a little off. The fact that the reach with the scythes was sometimes so awkward because of depth perception, because of camera angle, that to me, probably user error, right? But that to me was very irritating, and I think led to a couple more deaths than I'd wanted it to lead to. I do think it was a cool fight. I think it was a really, really cool way to challenge the player at the end of this DLC. And I do like the lore component. I think I'm gonna put Sister Frieda as a B tier fight. I think I have to put it above Vort. I think I do. Just solely based on the complexity of the fight, of the intrigue of the fight, etc., etc., etc. I do think it was really quite good. Do I want to fight her again? Not anytime soon. We beat her. Great. Done. Don't have to deal with that in my future. But I don't know. There's something that like really makes you want to watch it again. It's a good time. It's a good time and a bad time. Is that possible? Is that a thing? Let me know. Okay, and now we're moving into the Ringed City DLC. And you know, the first couple bosses I could care less about. I think, yeah, this is actually the progression that I went through. So we did Half-Light, Spear of the Church. I hated this boss. It was so annoying. The fact that you had to listen to Adjudicator Argo every time you walk into the church, the fact that the other church girl respawns if you don't deal with this enemy enough times, the fact that this guy has such an awkward hit base for some of his moves, the fact that he is a parry god, even though my stamina was like full, so irritating. I think Half-Light, Spear of the Church, probably lore-wise is very interesting. I don't care. I don't care about Half-Light. I don't like Half-Light. I don't want to talk about Half-Light anymore. He's a D tier fight to me. Disliked it. Don't want to deal with him. Not a good time. Just personally. Now let's move on to Midir. Midir I know is a really hard challenge for quite a few people. I find it very interesting. I was listening to somebody talk about how beast builds versus animal builds, or sorry, not animal builds, sorry, my goodness, human builds, humans versus beast fights. Human fights are supposed to be easier for most people because the moves are telegraphed and you can emulate that with your own character. However, beast fights, because the hitboxes are larger, the area is larger, the movement sometimes is a little bit awkward because of the modeling, can be a lot harder. I think the hardest bit with Midir was distance. For me, making sure that I had closed enough distance, but I was not underneath of him. And also the fact that he flies away. So you gotta chase this bad boy down, make sure that he's not zipping around with his dark fire and destroying you. I think overall Midir's fight was really cool. I do know that the lore is a lot deeper than what I have knowledge of. Very interesting, very neat. The fact that he is supposed to be... Is he supposed to be keeping the abyss at bay? Something like that. I know he's immortal, and, you know, to me, that's kind of a sad thing that he's in so much pain, so much suffering, and he's immortal and he can't die, and da-da-da-da-da. So to me, I think Midir's fight is quite cool. Would I want to fight him again? Not anytime soon. The arena that you fight him in also is quite neat. I will say that. But I don't think I want to fight Midir anytime soon. Getting to the fight, also quite annoying. Feels very optional. I think I'm going to put Midir at a solid C. We're going to put him at a C tier. He's an interesting fight. The lore is quite cool. Very, very cool. But it's just kind of more of like a, guess we gotta kill this dragon too, you know? Just another dragon boy. Sorry, my dear lovers. And last, but very most certainly not least, is the lovely Slave Knight Gale. Now, Gale's lore, Ariandel's lore, to me, was such a cool addition to the main game that I forgot it wasn't main game at one point in time. I thought that, okay, cool, once you fight Cinders, then you could just go into Gale Land, and it's like, oh, no, that's DLC. I had no idea. So, Slave Knight Gale's fight, amazing. I loved it. The movement capabilities, the variety of attacks that he has, the fact that when you get good at this fight and you dodge the 5 attack combo that he swings at you mercilessly, feels so good. It feels so good, you guys. I really do think that Gale is my favorite fight. The second phase, really cool. The second part of the second phase, annoying, but definitely very cool. I looked forward to attempts at this boss when I died. I think it took me a couple hours, I won't lie. It was definitely very hard, but it wasn't frustrating. You know, you run in and he's coming to you. You don't have to worry about navigating through a world. No. Oh Lord, he's coming for you. And I just overall, I loved this fight. It was so atmospheric. It was so cool. The opening scene of the pygmy crawling towards you saying, save me, essentially, was so well done. I just loved it. So, Slave Knight Gale, he's an A-tier fight. I loved it. So, let me know. Do you agree with my scoring, my ranking? Do you agree with my choices? Is there anything that made you really upset that you were like, oh, this girl, she does not know what she's talking about? Let me know. Feel free. I would love to see the comments down below. Please try to remember to subscribe to this channel. Also, give it a like if you did like it. And I stream on Twitch at Kate Plays. Kate_plays actually on Twitch 5 to 6 days a week. So we would love to see you there. And other than that, other than the feedback, I look forward to hearing from you soon and have a wonderful rest of your day.